So for context, I'm a 16-year-old male. I'm starting the equivalent of community college in my country in just under a month. My sister, who we'll call Mary, is 13 years old. She was completely spoiled by my parents, making her the obvious golden child. However, she is not a good person due to being spoiled. She always needs to be the center of attention and sulks, cries, and wails when she doesn't get her way. Additionally, she bullies and belittles people and tries to embarrass me in front of my friends whenever I bring them over. This is why I have stopped bringing them over. Now let me talk about my dad. He was verbally hurtful and manipulative, but never physically hurtful. When I was 13, my mom kicked him out. We don't visit him, which I used to think was because he didn't want to see us. However, it turns out our mom basically told him, which she confessed to, that we would be better off without him. I believed this back then, but recently he reached out to me over text, asking to reconcile and saying he has changed. I agreed to meet him, and surprisingly, my mom allowed me to go. I went and had a conversation with him at a cafe, and I think he has changed. He hadn't dated anyone in those 3 years and had been traveling around England. He wanted me to come and see him in his new house and offered to help me with anything I need, which I was grateful for. Now, to cut to the chase, my sister always has to come everywhere. No discussion. If she wants to come, she comes, and she always tries to embarrass me, but my mom never does anything about it. She tells fake stories and even calls me by a different name, suggesting that I must have lied about my name to my friends. She is constantly trying to ruin my social life. Going to this community college is my chance to start anew. I offered to take public transport, but my mom said it wasn't safe. So I told her that if my sister wants to come, I'll just get my dad to take me instead. She told me that I was excluding and bullying my sister and that I needed to accept she was always going to be a part of my life, whether I liked it or not. I told her to shut up and she told me to get out of her house. Now, I am staying at my friend's house. Am I the idiot? Am I the jerk? Also, in my country, you can skip some years of high school and go to community college instead. Edit. Okay, so I need to clarify some things. I am not calling Child Protective Services or reporting anyone to the government. The reason my sister gets by is that my mom usually just tells her the answers or tells her to cheat. She has a moderator who checks up on her yearly to ensure she is keeping up with her work. When I say my sister wants to come with me, I mean she wants to drop me off and come back to pick me up. When my older brother went to that school, my sister would go get him from the classroom, physically entering the classroom. I'm not sure if I should just offer a compromise and say she can come if she doesn't enter the classroom. My friend's parents are really understanding and said I could stay for a few more days. I think they just feel sorry for me because I legitimately got kicked out. Anyway, if you need any more information, just ask me in the comments. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1, not the idiot. Your sister should not be a part of your social life. A 13-year-old girl has no business hanging around a group of 16-year-old guys, nor does she have any business going to college with you. That's just weird. Comment 2, not the idiot. Banishing you from your mom's house just because you and your sister don't get along is dumb. Sounds like your sister has been spoiled by your mom. I'm sorry about that, OP. Now, for the update, thanks for all the comments and advice you guys gave last time. So a lot has happened in the past 3 days. First off, my sister Mary did something that really got under my skin. She hacked into my social media accounts and started posting all sorts of nonsense pretending to be me. She told everyone that I was moving to another country and even broke up with my girlfriend for me. Can you believe that? I was so mad I couldn't even look at her. I had to spend hours fixing the mess and apologizing to everyone, especially my girlfriend, who thankfully understood the situation. But that's not even the half of it. The next day, my mom sat me down for a serious talk. She told me that she had been seeing my dad behind our backs for months. They were trying to work things out without involving us until they were sure. I didn't know what to feel. Betrayed, maybe? But also, a part of me was happy they might get back together. It's confusing. And then the surprise. My dad got a job offer in another country. A really good one, he said. He wanted to take it, but he also wanted to take Mary and me with him. He said it was a chance for us to be a family again, to start fresh. My mom was considering it, and I could tell she was torn. I was too. I was just about to start community college, and now this? I told them I needed time to think. But Mary was over the moon. She loved the idea of moving away, being the new girl, and getting all the attention. It was like she didn't even care about what I wanted or what I was giving up. The next day, I went to see my dad to talk about it. He was really pushing for me to say yes. He said he'd buy me a car, pay for my education there, whatever I wanted. But I could see it in his eyes. He was desperate to leave his old life behind. And I guess, in a way, I was his ticket to do that. I went back to my friend's place feeling like my head was going to explode. His parents were kind, saying I could stay as long as I needed. They didn't have much, but they were willing to share it with me, which was more than I could say for my own family at that moment. That night, I lay awake thinking about everything. The new country, the college, my dad's offer, Mary's excitement, my mom's indecision. It was all too much. But then, I thought about my own future, what I wanted, and I realized I didn't want to go. I wanted to stay, go to community college, and live my life on my terms, not as part of my dad's do-over. So I told them. I told my mom, my dad, and even Mary. They were shocked, especially Mary. She threw a fit, saying I was ruining everything. But I stood my ground. My mom cried, and my dad, well, he was angry. He said I was making a huge mistake, that I'd regret it, but I don't think I will. In the end, they decided to go without me. My mom said she'd stay until I was settled in college, but after that, she was leaving with Mary and my dad. I guess I should have felt abandoned, but honestly, I felt relieved. I could finally breathe. Now I'm just trying to figure out my next steps. It's not going to be easy, but I think it's the right thing for me. I'm accepting the situation, even if it's not ideal. But hey, that's life, right? Thanks for reading. My pregnant joy turned sour when my friend criticized my husband. But when I found out she was the mistress, I kicked him out and showed them both the true meaning of betrayal. So I am pregnant with my first child. It wasn't planned, but we are extremely happy. I discovered my pregnancy roughly 3 months after my friend had her first baby, and she was super excited for me, saying how awesome it would be to bond over motherhood and how our babies could be best friends. We've known each other for 5 years, and I can honestly say she's one of my closest friends. But that said, we've still had our spats. Recently, I've been getting really annoyed with her because she's been talking more about the negatives of parenting than the positives, and insinuating that my husband, who is a godsend, will be the equivalent of a deadbeat who won't even know when to feed the baby or change a diaper. She's saying all of this because these are things her partner does. She's told me he didn't feed her for 5 hours and that he wakes her all the time because he doesn't know how to soothe the baby. He's also left the baby unsupervised on the couch at least twice, and she's fallen off it both times. She keeps telling me how hard it will be for me and how my husband will do the same things. I've gotten fed up with it, and it culminated in an argument today with me telling her my husband isn't a deadbeat and actually cares enough to take baby classes and do his own research. My husband has been making me all kinds of nutritious meals, reading up on how to support me in labor and postpartum, reading up about things that are good for baby's development, and has been asking to spend more time with my sister's baby to have practice with diapers and feeding, etc. I told her about all he's doing to prepare for the baby and said how my husband is already more involved in caring for me and the baby than her husband has been in their daughter's life so far. I'm not saying our transition to parenthood will be perfect, but at least I can trust that he won't let the baby fall off the couch. Never mind let something like that happen twice. She started crying, saying that I'm cruel, and I'll understand when we are both sleep deprived. But she is not the only mother that I know, and her husband's carelessness with their baby is not the norm from my experience. Am I the idiot for saying my husband will be a better dad? ETA. This isn't the first time she's made rude assumptions about my husband. I've been supportive of what she's going through and offered help and support whenever I can, even letting her vent to me about her husband almost daily. But there's only so many ways I can softly redirect the convo and say that my husband isn't the same. I've tried telling her how no two parenting situations are the same, and I won't always be a perfect mom, and do not expect my husband to always be a perfect dad, as parenting can be hard, especially navigating life with a first child, and I'm not naive to that. I've also explained how my husband shows interest in the things she says he will not do, such as my husband learning about postpartum nutrition, reading up on if we should use cloth diapers versus disposable, learning about activities for baby's development, taking baby safety and first aid classes. She's always super dismissive of him and tells me that it doesn't mean anything, which hurts because it means a lot to me, and I know I can trust him to at least get the basics of parenthood, whereas the way she explains her situation, her husband is clueless. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1, not the idiot. There's venting, and then there's taking out your frustrations on someone else. Venting about your lazy husband? Completely valid. Taking your frustrations about your lazy husband out on your pregnant friend by saying she's going to be in the same boat as you? Not okay. If she needs to vent, she needs to focus on her own experiences and keep you and your husband out of the conversation. If you want to apologize, you can, but she was wrong in how she chose to express her frustrations. Comment 2. I have a feeling that if this scenario was reversed and husbands were discussing how terrible their wives will be in parenthood, it would be expected that the husband defend his wife. There are much nicer ways this could have been communicated, and I'm sure both of your hormones are in play. But not the idiot, and I'd hope my partner would respect me enough to assert, in a more sensitive way perhaps, that there is nothing to question about my ability as a parent in response to comments like this. Now for the update. Thanks for sticking around. A lot has happened since my last post. So the baby's here. It's been interesting, to say the least, and not the good kind. Remember my friend, the one who was all doom and gloom about parenting? Turns out she was projecting more than I thought. Her marriage is on the rocks, big time. Her husband got caught cheating. It's a mess. She's been leaning on me a lot, which is tough because I'm juggling a newborn and sleepless nights. But here's where it gets complicated. My husband, the saint I bragged about, well, he's been acting off. Distant. I caught him texting late at night, and when I asked, he said it was just work. But last week I found out he's been helping my friend, the one with the cheating husband. Financially. Behind my back. He says it's just because we're in a better place and he wanted to help her out. I want to believe him, but it stings. It feels like betrayal. And then my world got rocked again. My mom, who's been my rock, got diagnosed with cancer. It's like the universe is testing me. I've been running between hospital visits and diaper changes. My friend, she's been there, but it's awkward. She's grateful for the help my husband gave her, but I can't shake the feeling that she's hiding something. In the midst of all this, my husband's behavior finally made sense. He confessed he's been seeing someone, my friend, the one he's been helping. It's like a punch to the gut. I thought we were happy that we were doing this parenting thing together. But he says it just happened, that he was helping her, and one thing led to another. I'm angry, hurt, and I feel like a fool. I kicked him out. He's staying with a friend, and I'm here with our baby, trying to figure out how to do this alone. My friend? She's a mess too. Says it was a mistake, that she was vulnerable, and he was there. I don't know what to think. I'm too tired to hate her. Too tired to do anything but feed my baby and cry when she's asleep. But life doesn't pause, does it? My mom's treatment is starting, and she's fighting hard. I've been splitting my time between caring for her and my baby. It's exhausting, but I'm doing it. I have to. My husband's been trying to talk to me, to explain, to apologize. I don't know if I can forgive him, but right now I don't have the energy to decide. I'm just taking it one day at a time. My baby is beautiful, and when she smiles, it's like the sun breaking through the clouds. It's not the family picture I had in my head, but it's mine. I'm learning to accept it, even if I don't realize how terrible it really is. Thanks for reading. My mother betrays my trust by sharing my address with her church. So I donate her inheritance to charity in her name and cut her off entirely. Many moons ago, when I was a young warthog, I realized my parents' religion wasn't all it was cracked up to be. After graduating college and leaving the church, I always seemed to get religious mailers with my name on them. I guessed it was my university or home church keeping up with me, or maybe updating their systems when they got return mail with my new address. Anyways, I bought a house last fall and eloped shortly thereafter. I told my immediate family I'd bought a house, sent my mom and siblings my address. I didn't give our address out to anyone else. My wife and I started getting religious mail with our first names, but only my last name. For reference, my wife does not have my last name, so seeing her first name with my last name was suspicious. My wife throws out there that the only person who fits all the details right and wrong and motive is my mom. She made a solid case, so I texted my mom, "Hey, we've been getting religious mailers addressed to my wife and I. You wouldn't happen to know anything about that, would you?" Not an hour later, your grandparents wanted it sent to you. Grandma died 5 years ago and Grandpa died 2 years ago. Grandpa knew of my girlfriend at the time, but they never met before he passed. I followed up with, "Well, they're not around to update these places on my address or marital status. Is it fair to assume you're doing this on their behalf?" She admitted it, but then justified it by saying she also was sponsoring a kid in Africa on their behalf too. After talking with my wife, we didn't care about the mailer content per se, just that my wife and my address was being given out to religious institutions we wanted no part in, without our awareness or consent, and that the goodwill memory of my grandparents was being used for manipulation to cross my wife and my boundaries. I waited a few days and then texted back in a long text that my wife and I weren't okay with how our address was being used and to not misuse it further, to not use the memory of my grandparents like that. And she wouldn't like it if we signed her up for agnostic or Buddhist mailers. Rather than give an apology of any kind, she called the confrontation dumb, justified her actions as okay because she believes in Christianity, and threatened to go no contact. We haven't heard from her since. Maybe I should have said nothing. Am I the idiot? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1, not the jerk. That is passive-aggressive as hell of her. May I suggest signing her up for stuff from the Satanic Temple? She may learn to appreciate why unsolicited mail isn't fun. Comment 2, not the jerk. Forcing one's religion on others knowing they don't want it is inappropriate. Maybe sign mom up for Granny Corn magazines and see if she likes it. Now, for the update, thanks for sticking around for this update. So last week was a real mess. Remember how I told my mom to stop sending us those religious mailers? Well, she didn't take it well. She went behind my back and talked to my siblings about how I was disrespecting our grandparents' memory and how my wife was changing me for the worse. My sister, who's always been the peacemaker, tried to smooth things over by inviting us all to dinner. Big mistake. At dinner, my mom acted like nothing happened. But when dessert came out, she announced that she had made a donation in our names to the church's new building fund. She said it was a way to honor our family tradition. My wife was furious, and I was too, but I didn't say anything. I didn't want to ruin the evening more than it already was. The next day, I found out that the donation was huge, like could have been a down payment on a house huge. My wife and I had been saving for a trip to Europe, and now it felt like that money was just gone, even though it wasn't ours. I confronted my mom about it, and she said it was her money to do with as she pleased, and that I should be grateful she was thinking of our eternal souls. But that's not even the worst part. My brother, who's always been a bit of a hothead, got into it with my mom after he heard about the donation. He's been struggling financially and asked her for a loan a while back, which she refused. He felt like she was choosing the church over her own son. They had a huge fight, and now he's not talking to her either. In the aftermath, my wife wanted to cut ties with my mom completely. She said we didn't need that kind of negativity in our lives, but I couldn't do it. She's still my mom, you know? Plus, I keep thinking about how my mom must be feeling, all alone with 2 of her kids not speaking to her. Then, as if things couldn't get more complicated, my mom's health took a turn for the worse. She had a minor stroke, and suddenly, I was the one she called for help. I rushed to the hospital, and she was there looking so small and scared. It was like all the anger and resentment just melted away. I've been spending a lot of time with her since then, trying to help her recover. My wife thinks I'm being played, that my mom is using her health to manipulate me. But I can't just abandon her, can I? I mean, she's my mom, and she seems genuinely remorseful. She's even started talking to my brother again, though it's still a bit tense. So here I am, stuck in the middle, trying to support my wife and take care of my mom at the same time. It's not easy, and I'm not sure if I'm doing the right thing. But I guess that's family for you. It's messy and complicated, but you don't give up on it. Thanks for reading. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.